I was standing at the kitchen sink, methodically cleaning the dinner plates, when I felt my wife's arm slide around my waist from behind. She rested her chin on my shoulder, her voice deceptively sweet, a tone she typically reserved for when she wanted something. "I gave Leo your vice president position," she announced, as casually as if she were commenting on the weather. "He's more capable than you are, so you can just take it easy at home from now on." Before the full weight of her words could settle, our daughter, Maya, who had been sitting at the table, leaped from her chair with a burst of joyous energy. "That's amazing! Leo will be so thrilled to hear this. Dad should have given him the position a long time ago." Watching the two of them celebrate my demotion, a cold chuckle escaped my lips, devoid of any humor. I turned my head slightly, my gaze locking onto my wife's reflection in the window. "Fine then," I said, my voice flat and even. "Let's get a divorce. It's not just the VP position I don't want anymore. I don't want you or our daughter either." This was the third time I had asked Clara for a divorce. The immediate reason was her decision to hand my senior executive role, a position I had earned through years of dedication, to Leo, her new male secretary, who had barely been with our company for a few months. Perhaps she sensed the finality in my tone, because she tried to soften the blow with a placating, almost coaxing voice. "Ethan, it's just a title. The young man wanted it, so I let him have it for a while. Once I'm done playing around, the position will be yours again." She offered a sly, conspiratorial smile, as if we were partners in some grand game. "Life is a long journey, Ethan. You have to allow me to see different landscapes along the way." I looked at her, my expression unreadable, and remained silent. The truth was, Clara was cheating on me with her new secretary. But this was hardly a new development in our marriage. The first time it happened was during our second year together, not long after Maya was born. Our business was just beginning to gain momentum, and I had made the conscious choice to scale back my own hours to care for our newborn daughter. A persistent feeling in my gut told me something was wrong, that her increasingly frequent late nights at the office were not entirely about work. After some discreet investigation, my fears were confirmed. She had become entangled with a male business partner. The moment I had proof, I was prepared to take our child and leave everything behind. But Clara collapsed into a storm of tears, begging me for forgiveness, insisting that she had been taken advantage of, and that it would never, ever happen again. At the time, she was lying in a hospital bed, recovering from exhaustion, and she looked so pitiful and terrified, as if the thought of losing me was like losing life itself. "Ethan, please forgive me," she had sobbed. "I promise you will be my only husband, and this will be our only child." Seeing her pale, frightened face, I naively allowed myself to believe she could change, and so I chose to forgive her. I had forgotten the old adage, someone who cheats once is bound to do it again. When our daughter turned 1, I discovered Clara's second affair. I still remember the sick feeling in my stomach as I pushed open the hotel room door to find her with another man. In that instant, any lingering affection I held for Clara evaporated completely. She didn't even display the panic or embarrassment she had the first time. She nonchalantly dismissed her companion, lit a cigarette, and regarded me from her compromised position on the bed. By some twisted logic in her mind, she had managed to convince herself that I was the one at fault, that I was too preoccupied with our growing business to satisfy her needs. I squinted at her, a sarcastic smile playing on my lips. "You make infidelity sound so remarkably natural. How did I fail to notice how utterly shameless you are before now?" I asked. "Well, if my presence is such a problem for you, let's just end this. Otherwise, I'm afraid I might not be able to restrain myself from letting everyone we know hear about your disgraceful activities." The color drained from Clara's face. "Ethan, are you threatening me?" she hissed. I couldn't help but chuckle. "How is it a threat? Consider it a formal notice. The child and the assets are mine. As for you, feel free to find as many men as you desire. It will no longer have anything to do with me." Her mouth twisted into a resentful frown, but then a calculating look entered her eyes and she smiled. "Ethan, our child is just a year old. Do you honestly believe losing her mother would be a good thing for her? Children from single-parent homes often develop issues as they grow up. Don't ruin her entire life just because you're feeling upset right now. She used our daughter to threaten me, knowing full well that Maya was my greatest weakness. At that moment, all I could feel was a bitter mix of disappointment and resignation. I had given everything for this shameless woman, and even now, I couldn't seem to escape her grasp. I thought about our baby, who still needed her mother. Closing my eyes, I took a deep, shuddering breath, feeling the pain of each inhalation. In the end, I chose to forgive her one more time. Yet my willingness to step back only emboldened Clara, paving the way for this third and final affair. To please her new lover, she had brazenly stripped me of my position as vice president. After receiving the official notification from Human Resources, I stormed towards Clara's office, determined to demand an explanation. But before I could even touch the doorknob, I overheard her talking with a friend inside. "Clara, don't you think you've gone too far this time? Removing your own husband from his VP role just so you can sleep with some new guy? Aren't you worried he'll actually divorce you for real?" Clara's laugh was light and dismissive. "I only dangled a carrot for Leo. I'll give the position back to Ethan eventually. As for a divorce, please. If he was going to do it, it would have happened years ago. I know him better than anyone. Divorce, it's not going to happen." My hand froze on the doorknob, my heart sinking into a cold, heavy pit in my stomach. Just then, Leo himself walked down the hall, a smug grin plastered on his face. "Not the VP anymore, huh?" he said, feigning sympathy. "So, what were you about to say?" "Oh, nothing important. I just wanted to get some advice from a senior colleague. You see, Clara thinks very highly of me, and frankly, it's a bit stressful." His tone was thick with self-satisfaction. I frowned, waving a dismissive hand. "That's your business with Clara. If you're feeling stressed, talk to her." I then took a deliberate step closer, my size and posture intimidating him enough to make him back away awkwardly. "But," I continued, my voice low and dangerous, "even if I'm not the VP, I am still one of this company's founders. Who gave you the audacity to stand here and brag in front of me?" With that, I turned and walked away, not bothering to give Leo's now pale face a second glance. When I returned home, I saw my daughter playing in the living room. I was about to ask her who she would want to live with if her mother and I were to divorce, but as soon as the word left my lips, she began to cheer. "I want to be with Mommy. She doesn't make me do chores and homework like you do, Dad. With her, I can have whatever I want and do whatever I want." After she finished her pronouncement, she gave me a look of pure disdain. "Besides, Mom always takes me out with a handsome guy now. All my friends are so jealous of me. Dad, you should just go. I'll have the handsome guy be my new dad." For a moment, I was completely frozen, staring at her in utter disbelief. It felt as if all the blood in my body was flowing in reverse, a chilling sensation that spread to my hands and feet, leaving them cold and numb. "When did Mom start taking you to meet other men? Why didn't you ever tell me?" I grabbed her by the shoulders, my grip tighter than I intended. The very thought of her being happily embraced by another man was enough to drive me mad. My daughter seemed to be in pain from my grasp and suddenly burst into tears. "You're a bad dad. I hate you. The handsome guy never hurts me. When Mom gets home, I'll have her kick you out of the house. I don't want you anymore." I stared at her, feeling all the strength drain out of my body as I collapsed to the floor. I remembered how I had given up a guaranteed promotion at my old job just to be the one to take care of her when she was born, pouring all of my heart and soul into raising her. I never imagined that the child I had nurtured with all my love would one day become a sharp knife, aimed directly at my heart. At that moment, I broke down completely, burying my face in my hands as uncontrollable sobs racked my body. By the time Clara arrived home, our daughter had already been put to bed by the nanny. It was then that I asked for a divorce for the third time. Clara casually tossed her handbag onto the sofa, turned to look at me, and chuckled, seemingly unconcerned. "Ethan, you're still so prone to jealousy. I've already told you it's just for fun. I'm not being serious with them, so you don't need to be either." After delivering this casual dismissal of my feelings, she got up and headed toward her bedroom. "The official position handover is tomorrow. I expect you to cooperate nicely. And don't worry, the position will be yours again in a few months." I watched her figure disappear into the bedroom, a single thought echoing in my mind. "Clara, where do you get the unshakable confidence to believe that I will continue to play along with this charade? Tomorrow's main event won't be starring you." The following day, I went to the office early, arriving alone to clear out my personal belongings. Then, I sat in my now barren office and waited. Before long, a message appeared in the company-wide chat, announcing an all-hands meeting in the main conference room. I knew this was it. They were about to officially announce Leo as my replacement. When I entered the room, everyone was already seated, with Clara and Leo positioned closely together at the head of the table. Clara cleared her throat upon seeing me and began her announcement. "As you all received in the HR notice yesterday, Leo will be replacing Ethan as the new vice president. Let's all give him a warm round of applause." Leo stood up, nodding graciously to the assembled staff, then extended a hand to me, his face a mask of feigned sincerity. "Ethan, I've just taken over as vice president. I hope you can provide me with a great deal of help and guidance." Everyone in the room watched me, waiting to see how I would react. This company was something Clara and I had built from the ground up together, and all of the employees were aware of our marriage. This wasn't just a simple personnel change. It had the potential to affect the entire company's future. I took a deep breath, completely ignoring Leo's outstretched hand, and instead took my VP name badge and hung it around his neck. "I can't help you," I said, my voice steady. "You should ask Clara for help. She loves assisting others." Leo's smile froze on his face, his expression turning awkward. Clara's face hardened. "Ethan, you don't have to be sarcastic. I made this decision after thorough consideration. The simple fact is that Leo is indeed better suited for the role than you are. The business department needs a strong leader, and you can start there to hone your skills." "I'm not as capable as Leo." "Really?" Years of tireless work and dedication, and Clara had just dismissed it all with a few careless words. She wasn't just defending Leo. She was trying to validate her own actions. She wanted to prove to everyone that the company's success was entirely her own doing. After all our years together, I knew exactly how her mind worked. But she was severely underestimating the situation. She wanted to erase my contributions, but we would soon see if she had what it takes to succeed without them. As for the business department, if Clara thinks I'm unfit, then I will simply resign. I wouldn't want to hold up her grand plans any longer." I fired back, then clapped Leo firmly on the shoulder. "Good luck, VP. You take good care of Clara and do your very best." Ignoring the stunned silence and chaos erupting in the conference room, I walked directly to Clara's office, placed my signed resignation letter and the divorce papers on her desk, and left the company for good. The position, the wife, the daughter. I walked away from it all. I immediately called my best friend Ben, and we went out for a night of drinking and catharsis that lasted until almost midnight. I came home reeking of alcohol. As I stepped through the front door, the overpowering scent of perfume made me wince. Clara was sitting on the sofa, in the very spot where I had so often waited up for her, her face a grim mask of anger. Seeing my slightly unsteady gait, she spoke, her voice sharp. "Ethan, were you drinking? Didn't you know you were supposed to pick up Maya today? Her teacher called me. That's the only reason I found out you never went. What kind of father are you?" For years, while juggling the immense pressures of the company and our child, I had never once let her worry about pickups and drop-offs. But from that day forward, things were going to be different. I focused on taking off my shoes and coat, not bothering to look at her as I spoke. "I assume you've seen the divorce agreement I left on your desk. It clearly states that our daughter will be staying with you, so I am no longer obligated to care for her." Upon hearing this, Clara slammed her hand down on the coffee table in front of her. "Ethan, that's enough. Everything has a limit. Do you really think it's fun to constantly threaten me with divorce?" I finally turned to look at her, a spark of amusement in my eyes. "Clara, it's funny hearing that from you. Is having one affair after another fun for you?" Clara was left speechless by my retort and could only begin to loudly defend her actions. I looked at her with a sarcastic smile, not entirely sure why I found the situation so amusing. "Also, the reason I haven't touched you in years is because I find you utterly dirty." Clara's face turned a shade of bright red, her expression twisting into something dark and vicious. "Ethan, fine. If that's really how you think of me, then let's get a divorce. But I do not agree with the property division you've outlined in the agreement." In the papers I had drawn up, I had not only left our child with Clara, but had also given her an additional 5% of the company shares and 70% of my personal assets. Clara originally held 31% of the company's shares. With my additional 20%, she would own a controlling 51% stake. If those terms were altered, her position would become precarious, which was likely why she was panicking. But I had anticipated this reaction. I would never have included those terms if I wasn't fully prepared. "It doesn't matter if you disagree. If you refuse to sign it, I will take you to court, Clara. I have kept detailed evidence of all your cheating over the years. You could end up losing everything. You don't want it to come to that, do you?" "Ethan!" she snapped, her face contorted with rage. I met her glare without flinching. After a long moment of silence, a flicker of some internal realization crossed her face, and then she laughed, a harsh and bitter sound. "Fine. If that's what you want, I'll oblige. I'll see you at the registry tomorrow." With that, she turned and stormed back into the bedroom, slamming the door shut behind her. I stared at the closed door and casually turned on my phone, accessing the live feed from the surveillance cameras I had set up around the house, which Clara knew nothing about. In the footage, Clara was on the phone with her best friend. "Yeah, Ethan wants a divorce. He's taking 5% of the shares and 70% of my assets. I agreed," she said. "Why? Because I know he won't be able to live without me. Once he's finished throwing this little tantrum of his, he'll have no choice but to give all of that back to me. Me, the company, the kid. He can't live without any of them." Watching her smug, confident face on the screen, I couldn't help but smile. "Oh, Clara, I just love your blind confidence. Don't worry, dividing the assets is just the appetizer. Once those divorce papers are officially filed, the real gift I've been preparing for you all of these years will finally be yours." The next day, Clara and I went to the registry with our daughter to begin the process. In 30 days, our divorce would be finalized. After leaving the building, Clara gave our daughter a little nudge. Maya looked at her mother, not particularly pleased, then reluctantly walked over to me. "Daddy, don't you want me anymore? I don't want you and Mommy to split up." Clara waited for our daughter to finish before adding casually, "Ethan, think it over during these 30 days. For the sake of the child, you are welcome to come back any time, as long as you apologize." I didn't respond to Clara. Instead, I bent down and gently patted my daughter's head. "Sweetheart, It's not that Daddy doesn't want you. It's because Daddy loves you so much that I'm fulfilling your wish by divorcing Mommy." My daughter's face instantly brightened, her mind already racing with visions of a wonderful future, her joy uncontainable. Clara took her hand and headed toward the parking lot, shouting back at me over her shoulder without turning her head, "I'll be waiting, Ethan." I remained where I was, watching as Clara and our daughter walked away. My little girl's lively chatter carried back to me on the breeze. "Mommy, can Leo take me to get chicken nuggets today? I really, really want to see him." Clara readily agreed. "Of course, honey. We'll go back to the office right now, and I'll have Leo take you out." "Yay, Mommy, you're the best." I listened to their conversation until their voices faded, and they disappeared from sight, feeling no regret at all. Just then, a car pulled up beside me. The window rolled down to reveal my good friend Ben in the driver's seat. "Ethan, get in." I hopped into the passenger seat, and Ben was visibly thrilled. "Ethan, you finally made up your mind. Should we start putting our plan into motion now?" Staring out the window as the scenery flew by, I responded slowly. "We can begin the initial preparations, but let's not rush things. Once I have that finalized divorce paper in my hand, that's when the real action will begin." Over the next month, Clara and I had no contact. The next time we saw each other was on the day we were to pick up our official divorce papers. I stood at the registry entrance dressed in simple, casual clothes, my posture intentionally hesitant. Clara arrived with Leo in tow, looking every bit the confident, successful woman. Seeing my subdued outfit, she had a look of deep satisfaction on her face. "Ethan, how has life been treating you? It's not too late to change your mind, you know?" Next to her, Leo frowned with a hint of irritation and tugged at Clara's sleeve. "Clara, if Ethan wants his freedom, just let him go peacefully." He then turned to me, his sincerity as fake as a $3 bill. "Don't worry, Ethan. I'll take good care of Clara and your daughter." Clara scowled at Leo, annoyed that he was speaking for her. I let out a small, theatrical cough. "I chose this path myself. I won't regret it. Even if I end up homeless on the streets, it has nothing to do with either of you anymore." Clara smirked, shaking her head. "Fine. But if you do end up as a homeless beggar, don't you dare tell anyone you were ever my husband." I shrugged, smiling indifferently, and headed into the registry, with Clara following close behind. Soon after, we each held the documents that officially ended our marriage. Samuel, seeing that we were finished, immediately began pressuring Clara about getting their own marriage license. Watching them bicker, I felt a wave of boredom and excused myself to the restroom. When I emerged a few minutes later, I had completely transformed. I had cleaned up and changed into a crisp, tailored beige suit, looking sharp, successful, and capable. Clara's eyes went wide, her face a mixture of shock and puzzlement at my sudden change. "Ethan, you—" I waved the divorce papers in my hand, unable to contain the genuine happiness in my voice any longer. "Clara, thank you. I am finally free from you." For a moment she was taken aback, her expression turning strange and uncertain. It was in that instant that she seemed to gradually realize that something was slipping far out of her control. "Ethan, what do you mean by that?" she stammered. "Nothing much," I said, my lips curling into a slight, meaningful smile. "But to commemorate our 7 years of marriage, I've prepared a very big gift for you. I do hope you like it." With that, I turned and walked away. "Ethan, make yourself clear." Clara tried to stop me, but Leo, ever the fool, got in her way. Leaving the civil affairs office, I drove straight to a cafe where a woman was sitting at a window table. Her coffee was half finished, indicating she had been waiting for some time. I walked over quickly, offering an apology. Isabella, I'm truly sorry. I got delayed at the civil office and made you wait. No problem, she replied, her expression calm and unreadable. I sat down and took the share transfer agreement from my briefcase. I've brought the paperwork. Have you made your decision, Isabella? She paused, her gaze sharp as she studied my face. How can I be certain this isn't some elaborate trap set by you and your wife? I took a sip of my coffee, answering her gently. First, Clara and I are now officially divorced. We are no longer married. Second, I am offering you a total of 25% of the company's shares. After my departure, Clara only holds 26%. If you join her company, you will instantly become the second largest shareholder. I leaned in closer, locking my eyes with hers. The rest of the shares are scattered among minor stakeholders. I believe that with your skills, Isabella, you will find a way to gain influence, won't you? This move would effectively give you no competitors in the city. Both major companies would essentially be under your control. Leaning back in my chair, I waited for her response, confident that despite her suspicions, a deal this lucrative was simply too good to resist. Sure enough, after a moment of consideration, Isabella signed the agreement. With the final signature in place, I extended my hand across the table. Isabella, here's to a fruitful partnership. I wish you great success. Isabella smiled. Likewise, I'll have the money transferred to your account shortly. I couldn't help but imagine the look on Clara's face when she would discover that Isabella, her fiercest competitor, had become the second largest shareholder at her own company's next meeting. It was a shame I wouldn't be there to see it. As soon as that meeting concluded, my phone rang. It was Clara. Ethan, you've crossed the line. I could almost hear her grinding her teeth through the phone, and I couldn't help but laugh. What could possibly have made our dear Clara so upset? Ethan, how could you sell your shares to Isabella? You are wrecking our company, Clara yelled, her voice shaking with rage. I responded with a casual, dismissive tone. Our company? Clara, I think you've forgotten that we're divorced. What happens with your company is no longer my concern. Clara paused for a moment, her voice softening into a pleading tone. Ethan, I know you're upset, but this is a family matter. Look, just find a way to undo the deal and take the shares back. You're just mad about Leo, right? I'll fire him, and we can make things right again. Her words made my eyes narrow, and I interrupted her coldly. Clara, do you really treat men like toys that you can dispose of at will? You still don't see your own fault in any of this. Leo is just one example. With your attitude, if it wasn't him, it would have been someone else. I continued, my voice hard. And remember, we are already divorced. Stop this family nonsense. I control what happens with my own assets. I don't want those shares precisely because they are tied to your company, and I find the association disgusting. Don't contact me again. We are nothing to each other now. I hung up and immediately blocked her number when she tried to call again. A moment later, my good friend Ben walked into my new office. Clara bothering you again? He asked. I nodded with a frown, and Ben rolled his eyes. She just won't give up. Then his tone shifted, becoming excited. Ethan, our new company has officially set up shop in the city. Everything is going smoothly. When do you plan to announce our presence? I tapped my fingers on my desk thoughtfully. Let things stew for a bit longer. There's no rush. With my sudden sale of shares, Clara's company was plunged into chaos. She and Isabella were now locked in a frantic battle, scrambling to buy up any available shares to become the majority shareholder. I took advantage of the situation by selling off the smaller blocks of shares I had acquired through proxies long ago at a significant markup. Both parties were desperate, buying them up even at inflated prices. With their focus entirely consumed by this corporate power struggle, the day-to-day operations of the business were left in the hands of the incompetent Leo. He took full advantage of the lack of oversight, demanding kickbacks from suppliers and bullying employees within the company into submission. Clara's company quickly became a mismanaged mess, disgruntling everyone from the top down. Meanwhile, I quietly reached out to former trusted colleagues, offering them significantly better positions and compensation. One by one, many of the key members of Clara's professional team jumped ship to join my new venture. Suppliers, frustrated by Leo's incompetence and greed, were also looking for a way out, and I was more than happy to offer them new contracts, leading them to cut their ties with Clara's company. Leo knew he was in hot water, but was relieved that Clara, preoccupied with her corporate battle, hadn't noticed the extent of the damage, so he did his best to hide what he had done. I figured it was about time to escalate things. I released all the evidence I had gathered over the years of Clara's multiple affairs. Suddenly, the internet was flooded with news about her infidelity. Her company's reputation was instantly destroyed, and its stock prices plummeted. Clara and Isabella were already knee-deep in financial trouble, throwing money at their problems to try and save their respective businesses. But it was like pouring a cup of water on a wildfire. It couldn't change the inevitable outcome. Everything was proceeding smoothly, just as I had planned for years. Seeing that the timing was right, I called Ben and arranged for a press conference to announce our company's official entry into the city. Back when Clara had first cheated on me, I had already begun preparing my exit strategy. I had teamed up with Ben to register a company in the next city over. Using my experience and industry knowledge, we began to take over the market there, and soon, we dominated it completely. At the press conference, under the flashing lights of the cameras, Ben and I, both dressed in tailored suits, confidently addressed the media. Instantly, many in the supply chain realized that this new, powerful company was actually run by me. They had already been impressed with my capabilities while I was working with Clara, so naturally they were ready and willing to partner with us. It was just a matter of signing the papers. As I was smoothly interacting with potential partners and the media, Clara suddenly appeared before me. She was a far cry from her usual glamorous self. Her makeup was smeared, and dark circles shadowed her exhausted eyes. "Ethan," she said, her voice hoarse. I clicked my tongue, looking her over with open disdain. "Isn't this our lovely Clara? What happened to you?" Clara's eyes reddened, her expression a mixture of regret and blame. "You never told me this company was yours," she said, her tone accusatory. I crossed my arms, shrugging slightly. "Did I really need to? You were always too proud to see my contributions, believing you had done it all on your own. Even if I had told you, you probably wouldn't have believed me." Clara frowned in frustration. "Ethan, you've punished me. You've let out all your anger. I admit I was wrong. Can't we stop fighting and just get back together?" I cut her off impatiently. "Clara, where do you get the endless confidence to think that I can't live without you? That you can control me so easily?" Faced with my cold disdain, Clara chuckled bitterly. "The first time I cheated and you forgave me, the company got better and our daughter grew up healthy. I thought you had more ties holding you down, that you would never leave. Especially after the second time you forgave me, I just assumed that as long as I kept you as my husband, you would stay obedient. But now I see that I was completely wrong. You weren't holding back out of weakness. You were preparing for a fatal blow." I smiled, amused by her ignorance and laughing at her late realization. "Clara, after all these years, you really don't know me at all. I have never been one to swallow my pride. I always get back at those who wrong me. So, after your very first affair, I started planning. I'm just glad you walked right into my trap and didn't let all my effort go to waste." Clara was visibly shaken, watching me with a defeated look, but a flicker of desperate hope remained in her eyes. "Ethan, I realize what I did wrong. I've lost everything to you. For our daughter's sake, can we please get back together? I promise I'll be a good wife and a good mother from now on." Her attempt to use our daughter as a bargaining chip only made me angrier. "Anna, you haven't learned a single thing," I shouted, shaking my head in disappointment. "You only care about the wealth and status that are slipping away from you right now. Don't think for a single second that you can use our daughter to manipulate me. She doesn't even want you as her mom if it means having to have me as her dad." Clara's face twisted with anger as she accused me. "Ethan, all these excuses. You never really loved me." Before I could respond, Leo barged in, positioning himself between us. "Ethan, how can you shamelessly hound Clara after your divorce? She's mine now." Leo bumped into me hard enough to knock me off balance, but luckily Ben noticed and caught me just in time. Ben shot a furious look at Leo. "You side piece, what do you think you're trying to pull?" He was about to punch Leo, but I stopped him. Clara, seeing Leo stand up for her, suddenly laughed, a wild and desperate sound. "Ethan, you think you've won? You're wrong. Without you, I still have the company and I still have Leo. With him by my side, I'll bounce back. Just you wait and see." I looked at Clara, so full of misplaced confidence, and sent her a document from my phone. Poor Clara. Do you really not know the current state of your company? Thanks to your dear Leo, you are heading for bankruptcy. Clara's face changed dramatically as she read the message on her phone, which detailed every corrupt and incompetent thing Leo had done at her company. Afterwards, she slapped Leo hard across the face. "You snake! I gave you a VP role, I gave you everything. And this is how you repay me?" Leo staggered back, clutching his cheek in disbelief. "Clara, how could you do this? You said I could do anything I wanted at the company, but you still hit me." Enraged, Clara lunged at Leo, grabbing at his hair. Watching them fight, I felt nothing but boredom and signaled for security to separate them. But Clara's question kept echoing in my mind. "Ethan, you never loved me." She was wrong, though. I did love her once. Because I loved her, I gave her 3 chances. But it was clear she never understood what love was, or how to cherish it. My company quickly gained a solid foothold in the city. The top 2 companies in the industry, Clara's and Isabella's, both declared bankruptcy due to broken financial chains, and I acquired them both. Watching the hustle and bustle of busy employees in my new, expanded offices, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Ben, however, kept chattering excitedly in my ear. "Ethan, we've got things sorted out here. Shouldn't we keep expanding? Maybe we can snag the business in another city while we're on this roll." I looked at the enthusiastic Ben and smiled knowingly. "Ben, no rush. Before we move on to another city, there's something we need to do first." Ben looked confused. "What do we need to do?" I pulled up a map on my computer and raised an eyebrow at him. "Obviously, it's about fulfilling your wish, Ben. I remember your dream was always to travel all over the country. You've spent so many years running around for me. Now it's my turn to take you on that journey." Ben's eyes immediately reddened, and he choked up a bit. "Ethan." Just then, my assistant knocked on the door. "Mr. Hayes, there's a young girl outside who says she's your daughter and wants to see you." I thought for a moment and then told the assistant to bring her in. Maya entered the office, looking a bit shy, and gave me a timid glance. "Dad." I looked at this little girl and sighed. "You don't have to call me Dad anymore, especially since you made it clear you didn't want me as your dad." Hearing my words, her tears began to fall. "Dad, what do you mean by that? Are you saying you don't want me anymore?" I walked over to her and ruffled her hair gently. "You were the one who first said you didn't want your dad. Maya, even though you're still young, I need you to understand that some hurts can't simply be undone." My daughter sniffled, looking at me with red-rimmed eyes as she lowered her head. "Dad, I know I was wrong." Kid, when you make choices, you have to bear the consequences of those choices. But don't worry, I will still fulfill my responsibilities as your father. I will support you financially until you turn 18. Hugging her tightly one last time, I let her go and looked into her eyes seriously, saying one final thing. Maya, as you grow up, I hope you learn to judge right from wrong and to understand what respect truly means. That's my only hope for you. Finally, I called my assistant to arrange for a car to take her home. In the days that followed, Clara and my daughter never bothered me again, primarily because Ben and I had embarked on our long-awaited journey, and they couldn't find us. Ben and I strolled through the streets of an old historic town, watching the happy crowds pass by, and I felt a sense of freedom I had never experienced before. Taking charge of my own life, being independent and strong without relying on anyone else, it was truly enchanting. Seeing Ben happily taking selfies beside me, I couldn't help but laugh. From now on, with a broad heart and no fear of challenges, I would stay true to myself.